The snow fell softly on the base, like ash from a dying fire. Christmas Eve lights blinked on metal walls. Red, green, cold. She sat alone near the command table, headset loose around her neck, notebook closed, hands folded tight. They called her just a translator. Not to her face. Not always. But she heard it anyway. The SEALs laughed near the heater. Boots off. Rifles stacked. Coffee steaming. "Hey," one of them said. "Wish Merry Christmas in 6 languages for us." Another snorted. "Careful. She might translate our secrets to Santa." Laughter hit her like small stones. Sharp. Endless. She smiled. Because that was easier. She smelled gun oil and burnt coffee. Heard distant wind pushing against steel walls. Felt the weight of the mountains pressing in. Her name was Mara. No one bothered to remember it. Command crackled over the radio. Enemy movement. High ridge. Thermal signatures blinking alive. Snipers. Many of them. The room shifted. Jokes died mid-breath. Maps spread out. Coordinates thrown around fast. Too fast. The local intercept came in. Harsh dialect. Broken transmission. Everyone looked at her. "Translate," the captain said. Her heart sped up. Not fear. Focus. "They're counting us," she said. "One by one." Silence. She pointed at the ridge. "They know our rotations. Our blind spots. They're patient." A SEAL muttered. "Great. Translators predicting the future now." She ignored him. Because she recognized the cadence. The syntax. The pauses between words. This wasn't chatter. It was a hunt. The first shot came fast. Metal screamed. A floodlight shattered. Darkness swallowed the yard. Another shot. A radio exploded into sparks. The base went still. Orders overlapped. Breathing got loud. Snow fell harder. They couldn't see the ridge. But she could imagine it. Wind direction. Elevation. Old training resurfacing. She hadn't touched a rifle in years. Not since the village burned. The Dragunov rested in the armory. Captured. Ignored. She reached for it. "Where are you going?" someone shouted. Her hands trembled. Then steadied. "I know how they think," she said. "I know how they hide." The captain hesitated. Christmas lights flickered above his face. Another shot cracked. Too close. He nodded once. The metal of the rifle was ice cold. The scope smelled like dust and oil. Familiar. She climbed the tower alone. Steps creaking. Wind howling. Her breath fogged the glass. She lay prone. Snow soaking her sleeves. Heart pounding in her ears. Through the scope, the ridge came alive. Shadows inside shadows. She adjusted. Slow. Careful. A glint. Just a blink of reflected moonlight. She squeezed. The recoil punched her shoulder. The shadow dropped. Another glint. Then another. She moved with memory, not thought. Counting. Correcting. The radio below went quiet. No jokes now. Her fingers burned. Her jaw locked. 17 times. 17 breaths. The ridge fell silent. She lowered the rifle. Hand shaking again. Below, the SEALs stared up at her. Different now. No laughter. Only awe. And something like shame. Snow kept falling. Christmas lights blinked on. And from the dark ridge, a news signal flared to life. The flare burned red against the snow. Too steady. Too deliberate. Mara's breath caught in her throat. That wasn't panic. That was a message. Her radio crackled. Sharp. Urgent. "Movement again," the captain said. "Different pattern. She pressed her cheek to the frozen stock. Skin numb. Mind awake. Through the scope, the ridge shifted. Not snipers this time. Spotters. They were learning. Her pulse thudded in her ears. Louder than the wind. 17 bodies lay hidden in white. But someone was still counting. She whispered to herself. Not a prayer. A calculation. Angle. Distance. Time. Below her, boots scraped on metal. Seals repositioned. Quiet now. Listening to her breathing over the line. Mara, the captain said. He used her name this time. She didn't answer. Her finger rested on the trigger. Not squeezing. Waiting. The smell of snow and burned powder mixed in her lungs. Memories pushed in. Hands tied. Orders shouted in the same cold tone. A figure rose on the ridge. Slow. Unarmed. Another behind him. Negotiators? Or bait? Her jaw tightened. Her eye watered from the cold. One wrong shot could light the mountain on fire. One delay could cost lives. The flare died out. Darkness rushed back in. Then the ridge spoke again. In her language. Clear. Calm. Mocking. We know who you are, the voice said. Her breath stopped. The scope trembled. And somewhere in the dark, a safety clicked off. The click echoed inside her skull. Too close. Too confident. Her finger tightened. Then loosened. The voice came again. Low. Measured. You translate for them now, it said. But you learn from us. Her chest burned. Cold air scraping her lungs. She scanned left. Right. Nothing but snow and stone. They were good. Better than before. Below, a seal whispered. Permission to fire? She swallowed. If she spoke, they'd hear her voice. If she stayed silent, they'd read her breathing. Her radio buzzed softly. Too softly. She remembered Christmas songs from her childhood. Candles. Warm bread. Her mother's hands. The ridge shifted again. A shadow raised something long and thin. Not a rifle. An antenna. Her stomach dropped. They're calling it in, she said finally. Voice steady. Heartbreaking. What kind of backup? The captain asked. She didn't answer right away. Because she recognized the frequency. The old code. The one used before villages disappeared. Her scope caught movement behind the antenna. More shapes. Many more. Her shoulders screamed as she adjusted. Snow packed into her collar. She could take the man with the antenna. She knew she could. But not the rest. The voice spoke one last time. Almost gentle. You should have stayed just a translator. Her finger curled again. Below her, the base lights flickered. Once. Then the power cut out completely. Dark swallowed the base. Total. Absolute. Only the stars remained. Cold and distant. Mara stayed frozen on the tower. Muscle locked. Mind racing. Night vision snapped on below her. Green ghosts moving fast. Eyes up, the captain whispered. Talk to us. She listened instead. The mountain spoke in sounds, not words. Snow sliding. Boots testing rock. Breath held too long. They're advancing in pairs, she said quietly. Using the dead ground. They're close. How close? She didn't say. Her cheek burned against the rifle. Frost biting through skin. A memory surged. A voice shouting orders in the same calm tone. A boy dropping beside her. She forced it down. Through the scope, shapes separated from darkness. Not rushing. Never rushing. Professionals. Her mouth went dry. Ammo count flashed in her mind. Not enough. Mara, the captain said again. Not a command. A plea. She shifted her aim lower. toward the approach path. "If they reach the wire," she said, "this becomes hand to hand." No one answered. A figure paused on the ridge, looked straight at her tower. Even without light, she felt seen. Her chest tightened. The radio crackled once more. Different voice. "American. We have incoming air," it said. 10 minutes out." 10 minutes. She almost laughed. The ridge erupted with motion. They had heard it too. Snow kicked up. Shadows broke cover. She fired again. Once. Twice. Figures dropped. Others kept coming. Her rifle grew hot. Her shoulder went numb. Below, the base roared to life. Shouts. Orders. Steel on steel. And above it all, the mountain answered back. Rockets flared. Not aimed at the base. Aimed at the sky. Mara froze. Countermeasures. She whispered into the radio. "They're not here for you anymore." A thunderous sound rolled in from the distance. Too heavy. Too many rotors. The snow began to swirl violently. And as she lifted her eyes from the scope, she realized the air support was not alone. The rotors tore the night apart. One rhythm. Then another. Not synchronized. Not friendly. Mara's stomach tightened. The wind slammed into the tower. Snow lashed her face like needles. She squinted upward. Two shapes cut across the stars. One low. One higher. Different silhouettes. Her radio screamed to life. Too many voices. "Identify aircraft. Transponder is wrong. Lock just dropped." She tasted metal in her mouth. "They're spoofing you," she said. "They've been waiting for this." The captain swore under his breath. A missile tone chirped. Short. Deadly. The higher aircraft veered. Flares burst like false suns. The second shape didn't flare. Didn't dodge. It accelerated. Mara's hand shook for the first time. She scanned the ridge again. Empty. They were done with the mountain. This was the endgame. Below her, seals spread out. Weapons up. Faces lit green and tense. "Mara," the captain said. "Tell me what you see." She lowered the scope. Looked with her own eyes. The dark aircraft slid closer. Silent now. Too silent. A door opened on its side. She recognized the shape hanging beneath it. Not a bomb. Not yet. A man. Harnessed. Waiting. Her breath hitched. "Boarding team," she whispered. The base lights flickered again. Emergency power struggling. Snow spiraled harder. Visibility collapsing. The man dropped. Vanished into the white. Then another. And another. The captain's voice hardened. "All units, perimeter breach imminent." Mara gripped the Dragunov. Barrel smoking. Magazine nearly empty. She counted her remaining rounds. Too few for what was coming. Her radio hissed softly. A familiar cadence returned. "You always were good with numbers," the voice said. Her blood went cold. The wind carried footsteps now. Close. Very close. She chambered the next round. And waited for the first shadow to climb the tower ladder. The ladder creaked once. Then went still. Mara held her breath. Every sound felt amplified. Snow slid off the railing. Soft. Deceptive. A shadow moved below her boots. Slow. Testing. She tightened her grip on the rifle. Wood slick with sweat. Metal warm now. A voice drifted up from the dark. Right beneath her. "You don't belong up there," it said. Not shouted. Not threatened. Certain. Her jaw clenched. She kept the muzzle trained on the ladder opening. Below, gunfire erupted near the east fence. Short bursts. Controlled panic. Someone screamed. cut off too fast. Her radio flared. Contact at the motor pool. Multiple hostiles. The shadow climbed one rung. Then another. She could see the outline of a helmet now. A gloved hand. You were always meant to listen, the voice said. Not decide. Her finger trembled. Then steadied. A second shadow appeared at the base of the ladder. Then a third. She was running out of angles. The Dragunov clicked softly. Last rounds. She fired. The first shadow jerked back. Fell. Hit metal below with a dull final sound. The others didn't retreat. They laughed. Low. Almost respectful. Below her, explosions rocked the base. Emergency lights died for good. Only muzzle flashes now. Brief suns in the dark. Mara! The captain shouted. Fall back if you can. She didn't move. Because retreat meant the tower. And the tower meant the sky. A hand reached the top rung. Fingers curling over the edge. Her shoulders screamed as she fired again. Another body fell. One round left. Her ears rang. Her vision tunneled. Snow settled on her lashes. The remaining shadows stopped climbing. Just waited. You taught us patience, the voice said softly. The wind howled. Rotors roared somewhere overhead. Mara chambered the final round. Hard hammering. And for the first time that night, she wasn't sure who would fire next. The silence stretched thin. Too thin to trust. Her finger rested on the trigger. The last round heavy with meaning. Snow drifted into the tower. Melting on the hot barrel. Hissing softly. The shadow below shifted its weight. Patient. Certain she would blink first. Below them, the base fought on. Gunfire echoed off steel and stone. Voices blurred into noise. Her radio crackled again. Almost lost in static. We're losing the south wall. Mara closed her eyes for half a breath. Just long enough to remember who she was. Not a translator. Not a ghost. A survivor. She opened her eyes. The shadow moved. Fast now. Committed. Her heart slammed once. And the tower lights flickered back to life. White light flooded the tower. Harsh. Blinding. The shadow froze mid-movement. Exposed. Mara didn't hesitate. The rifle kicked one last time. The final round screamed into the night. The body fell away from the ladder. Disappeared into darkness and snow. Silence snapped back in. Her ears rang. Her hands went numb. She leaned against the railing. Breathing ragged. Chest burning. Below, the base surged with sound again. Commands clear. Shots disciplined. Night vision flickered off. White light took over. Mara, the captain said. Voice breaking through static. You still with us? She tried to answer. Nothing came out at first. Her throat felt raw. Yes, she said finally. Quiet. Certain. She looked down the ladder. Empty now. But she didn't relax. Because the mountain had gone silent again. And silence meant thinking. She smelled smoke drifting upward. Felt heat rising from below. Air support thundered closer. Real this time. The rotor shook the tower. Snow lifted into spirals. She scanned the perimeter with naked eyes. No scope. No filter. That's when she saw it. Near the fallen ladder base. Half buried in snow. A small blinking light. Not a weapon. Not a radio. A marker. Her stomach dropped. She grabbed the radio. Too late. The ground beneath the tower shuddered. Once. Then the mountain answered. The blast didn't come from below. It came from everywhere at once. The tower screamed as metal twisted. Both shrieked. Snow exploded upward. Mara was thrown hard against the rail. Air ripped from her lungs. Stars burst behind her eyes. The mountain roared like it was alive. She tasted blood, copper and smoke. The radio went dead in her hand. For a second, there was no sound at all. No gunfire. No rotors. No voices. Just ringing. Then gravity remembered her. She slid to her knees. Hands scraping ice. Fingers numb and clumsy. Below, the base was a jagged wound of fire and shadow. Walls torn open. Lights gone. She forced herself to stand. Every breath felt borrowed. The marker was gone. Erased. Like it had never been there. Her ears caught something new. Not engines. Not shouting. Clapping. Slow. Deliberate. From the darkness beyond the wire. A figure stepped forward. Unarmed. Calm. Spotlight beams finally found him. Snow swirling around his boots. He raised his hands. Smiled. "You see?" he called out. Voice carrying easily. "We only needed you to stay where you were." Mara's chest tightened. Around him, shapes rose from the snow. Dozens. Silent. She looked down at her empty rifle. At the cracked tower beneath her feet. At the base, struggling to breathe. And as the first shadow lifted its weapon, she realized Mara dropped the empty rifle. It clattered down the tower steps. A sound that felt final. She raised her hands. Slow. Steady. Snow settled on her hair. On her shoulders. On the night itself. The man beyond the wire stopped smiling. Because surrender wasn't what he expected. Below, the SEALs regrouped. Wounded. Breathing. Alive. Helicopters thundered overhead at last. Real ones. Unmistakable. Searchlights cut the mountain open. Turned shadows into truth. The figures in the snow scattered. Not brave without darkness. Not loyal without advantage. The man stepped back. Then vanished. This night was never meant to end quickly. Silence returned. Different now. Earned. Medics reached the tower. Hands firm. Voices calm. They wrapped her in a blanket. Warm. Heavy. Her knees finally gave out. As they led her away, the captain stopped her. He didn't salute. Didn't joke. He just said her name. Once. Mara looked back at the mountain. At the snow-covered ridge. At the place where the past tried to claim her again. It didn't win. Christmas morning came quietly. Gray light over broken ground. 17 marks were found on the ridge. Clean. Precise. No one called her a translator anymore. And when the base radio crackled to life again, steady and calm, Mara closed her eyes, breathed in the cold air, and finally let the night go.